Good afternoon and welcome to episode 10. Portia, can you believe we're at episode 10?
Yeah, that quick?
That
Yes.
good. Yeah, episode 10 of CommuniTEA. I'm your host, Jules, and I'm joined by my co host and our special announcement reporter, Portia Harris, who
Hey,
chairs
y'all.
our Young Adults Committee. So, Portia, tell us what's happening. What are the announcements?
Okay, so at first I want to just share this breaking news that literally just hit maybe like 30 minutes ago, right at 4 o'clock. The grand jury has returned an indictment against George McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Bryant in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. And some of the charges or some of the indictment includes malice murder and felony murder. So huge, achievement or movement forward in that case. So super excited to see that. And hopefully they'll continue on and they'll ultimately serve the time for killing Ahmaud Arbery. So great job there. And for the people on the ground in Georgia that have been fighting and keeping the pressure on, the system down there. Also, I want to talk about a little bit about the DACA case that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of NAACP v. Trump last week. And just a reminder for those that don't know, DACA stands for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival. So that deals with individuals that have come here to go to school who are not, born in the United States. So the Supreme Court ruled in favor of that, a 5-4 decision, basically saying that the Department of Homeland Security's decision to repeal that was not lawful and did not fall within their purview to do that without providing the proper notice. So the NAACP joined that lawsuit or filed that lawsuit in conjunction with Department of Homeland Security versus the Regents of the University of California. And really the NAACP filed that lawsuit on behalf of DACA recipients of the African diaspora. So just wanted to make sure that all bases were covered for the DACA. So that's a huge accomplishment for the legal side, the litigation side for the NAACP. So just want to shout out Nationals for bringing that lawsuit. As always, we are a membership organization. We are powered through membership. That's how all of our work is done at the local level through committees. So we just encourage you, as always, to join our organization. You can join the Houston branch today by visiting naacphouston.org and click on the donate tab, and it'll take you through membership. Membership is just $30 for 1 year. So if you join today on June 24th, 2020, you'll be a member for that $30 through June 24th of 2021. So we encourage you to do that today. If you're not here locally in the Houston area, you happen to watch this, we encourage you to go to the national website, naacp.org, and find a unit in your local area that you can join. And once you type in put your information and put in your zip code, they'll bring up the closest unit closest to you so that you can join. And if you want a deeper, stronger, more lasting relationship with the organization, we encourage you to become a lifetime member. So once you pay that lifetime membership in full, you're a member for life. It's literally what it means. You don't have to pay any more membership fees. So the lowest amount that you can pay is $750. But the good part about it, like I say every week, is we have a subscribing life membership, silver life membership, and you can pay that $75 in 10 increments, or you can double up as you are available or as you're able to be able to pay that off. And you get a nice plaque once you finish it that says NAACP lifetime member and then associated with the branch that you're a part of. So encourage you to do that as always and continue to push we're going to continue to push traffic to our national website so you guys can join our different call to actions. So we have, the hashtag and the effort, We Are Done Dying. So we're still pushing forward with that campaign, and for you to join in and reach out to your representatives to write them and let them know how you feel and what laws need to be pushed forward through legislation that they can pass to kind of join in with that effort. So make sure you do that. Just another reminder for those here in Harris County or in Texas in general, we do have an election coming up on July 14th. That's just a few weeks away. Early voting starts next Tuesday on the 29th. You can find your polling location here in Houston or Harris County by going to Harris County Votes, and it'll bring up the different polling locations. So if you're not currently registered to vote, you won't be able to vote in this July 14th election, but you will if you get registered to vote today. You'll be able to vote in the general elections in November. So we just want to encourage you to go out and vote if you have the ability to. If you're sick and you're not going to be able to make it by July 14th, or you feel like you're not going to be, you need to go ahead and request a mail-in ballot. You can also request that by going to harrisvotes.com. And you can request that mail-in ballot. It has to be requested by July 2nd. So that's just a little over a week away as well. So we encourage you to do that. As always, polls, the early voting starts on June 29th and goes through July 2nd, opens back up on July 5th through July 10th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. To 7 p.m. And then the last day, of course, is election day that you can vote, which is July 14th. I also want to encourage you guys, if you have not completed your census, to please do your census. As a nation, we're right now at 61.7%, which is very low as an entire nation for self-reporting. Here in Texas, we're at 56%. And here in Harris County, we're at 55.8%. And the city of Houston is only at 52.2%. These are the numbers as reported on Monday. So if you have not done your census, I encourage you to go to census2020.gov or 2020census.gov and complete your census. It literally takes you less than 10 minutes to do. It's just 9 questions, very simple for you to get through. So please, sir and ma'am, if you have not, please complete your census. And finally, tonight, I encourage you guys to join another town hall series. It's called the Unmuted Town Hall Series that the National Association is doing. So tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, they have the Unmuted Virtual Town Hall Series, a legal perspective. So there's a wonderful panel of women that are going to be talking from the legal perspective of all the things that are going on in our communities across the country. So definitely encourage you to tune into that. It's going to be being broadcast from our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/NAACP. Or you can dial in if you're unable to watch it live. If you want to call in, the call-in number is 866-757-0756. We encourage you to tune into that. I think it's going to be an amazing conversation for you that are trying to figure out how this works from a legal perspective and what we can do legally. This is a great opportunity for you to learn from our national office and some, heavy hitters in the game. And then last, but certainly not least, one more thing. If you are interested in being a volunteer voter registrar, so you want to register people to vote, we have to partner with the Houston Area Urban League in the Harris County Tax Assessor Office, and they're offering a virtual volunteer voter deputy registrar training next Tuesday on July 30th.
June.
June 30th. I'm sorry. I'm already in July. June 30th, so next Tuesday, and you can register online at www.hctax.net/voter deputy. So you can register for that training. This is the first one that they're doing. We're super excited that we're able to get in on this. So please, if you want to continue to help us in our efforts to register people to vote, we encourage you to sign up for that virtual volunteer deputy training. And that's all I have. I know that was a lot, y'all. I'll put some of the stuff in the comments if you missed it.
All right. Well, thank you, Porschia, for that information. And as soon as the show is over, we'll be posting the announcements about the VDVR training. So to become a volunteer deputy voter registrar, those are the people that help get people registered to vote. Portia's one, I'm one, and we encourage more of you to become one here in Harris County. Once you become we call it a VDR. So once you become a VDR, you can send that certification to our neighboring counties so that you can help citizens there get registered to vote. So stay tuned for more on that. Thank you so much, Porschia.
No problem.
All right. So next up, we have our special guest for today, Nissi Hamilton, and she's coming into the studio now. Hi, Nissi. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. So I'm really excited to have Nissi with us. She's a ball of joy, and y'all will realize that. But she's very passionate when it comes to human trafficking and protecting our girls. That is her calling. That is
Yes.
her ministry. That has become her life work. So Nissi Hamilton, we got you here for about 30 minutes. I understand. I want to jump right into it. I want people to understand how real this is. Houston is, we're a hotbed for COVID, but we've been
Yes.
a hotbed for human trafficking. And I understand just last night,
Woo.
you dealt with a situation. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
dealt with a situation. So people will reach out to you. I know you give your phone number out wherever you are. And I'm sure
Yes.
you'll get out about 5 times on here tonight. But you helped rescue someone who had been trafficked last night. Let's talk about that just briefly, and then let's really get into the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I get phone calls all the time about people reporting the traffickers, and they want to remain anonymous. So I'm very helpful to our community, whereas people want to remain anonymous, and then there's always that person where you can use their name or their face to kind of, throw underneath the bus. Like, this is the person who said it, and I just kind of take it. It comes with the territory, but people are always looking for um not not less responsibility, but how do I not associate myself with this because I'm aware of the consequences? And it's a lot. The consequences are high because you got to understand, you are in a position where you get rid of somebody's bread and butter. Nobody. That's like if somebody call you right now and say, "Hey, you fired," and they did it over the phone. You ain't getting no warning. You ain't getting no write up. Nobody went through a system. There was no chain of command that you had to go through, and all of a sudden your money is affected. Oh, you mad? You mad as hell? You out to get it? And all I kept thinking was, okay, how do I do this and report what I'm hearing, what's going on, and this person remain anonymous, and we be able to get the point across. I text Chief Art Acevedo. I tell him what's going on, and he was like, "Nissi, on it." I mean, immediately, the vice was involved. The sergeant came out. And they stayed on it. Literally, we did not go to sleep. I know at least until 4 o'clock this morning until we actually found the guy and then was able to locate the girl and get her name and, made her more identifiable and things like that because she is literally trying to escape and things like that. They were amazing. They, HPD, they really showed up last night, like hands down. Chief Art Acevedo, he did that. There's nothing I can say about it. And it just, what really made me happy was at the end of the day, that young lady knew and she could walk away with understanding that no matter her situation, no matter what was going on, no matter what happened to her, that she was worthy to be found. And that's the message. That shouldn't just be the message, though, for one particular race of girls. That should be the message for all girls. And that's what is so important to me. That Black girls feel like and know that they are worthy to be found, that they are worthy, that somebody knows where they at, and it's important that we lay eyes on them.
Right. Well, I guess you're saying Black Lives Matter.
I am saying Black Lives Matter.
I am delighted that Nick helped arrange get you on here today. Uh,
Yes.
we could not have done this without Nick, so I'm turning it over to Nicholas to run this show, run this interview with you. So I will catch you towards the end, okay?
Okay, perfect. I can't wait because I love you so much.
Hey, sister, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. So the first thing I want to go into or talk with you about would be, I think sometimes, people see the glory, but they don't know the story.
Mm.
So if you want to kind of highlight some of the things that you may have been through, and nothing too personal, but just kind of give the audience an idea of what has happened to people, or what has happened to you per se in being trafficked. And because some people see where you are now, but people don't understand, what you've been through. If you just want to highlight some of that for us, that would be great.
Oh yes. First, I want to thank you for your work that you've done in the space of human trafficking. I want to thank everybody that has done an excellent work and is still doing an excellent work in the space of human trafficking. Before Nissi even came into the space, I thank everybody that came before me that was here. And I'm glad that the Lord chose me to give clarity to some of the things that we're actually experiencing in the realm of human trafficking when it comes down to African-American girls, my Black girls, my brown girls, the ones who really need that voice of reason right now. And I'm a pillar of hope, and I'm happy about that. My trafficking experience started through CPS custody, aging out of the system at 14, and being trafficked, and never leaving that abusive cycle, not having the support system. The support measures that I see today, they were not in place 20 years ago. So even as an adult, my trafficking experience still went over into me being an adult, and I fought tooth and nail to be in this place that I am today. From losing my children to my traffickers, to losing my own mom to human trafficking. My mother was murdered as a victim of human trafficking, right in Fifth Ward on Waco, and that made the news. And really not having any family, being lost, not being a found Black girl. I don't believe I got found until I ran for office.
Right.
Which is the most bravest thing, I've done in my life, because never before in the history have we heard of anybody who had been a survivor of human trafficking running for office. And really just ready to make legislation listen to us in a way that it provoked change.
Right.
To not just white people, but for Black girls. And then there'd be a hope for the Black girls there. I hope somebody comes after me, and I mean just wreck shop, like just hit them with the heat, because there's only so much one person can do. I'm in my 30s. I have a lot of time, but I'm really happy that I can be that voice for our community and just really push the movement forward, because human trafficking does need light. It does need light for African American girls. And I've been in this space for a very long time. And healing, the healing process is every day. Every day. I mean, you've seen it. You've gone through this healing struggle every single day. And it hurts and it's painful. And if I go through it, and I'm grown going through this, I can only imagine the girls who don't have that resource box, that informational tool, that mentor to talk to, who's been through what they've been through specifically,
right,
and help them get over the hump. And that's the difference.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. So, and this is something me and you highlight and talk about a lot. How do you feel about the organizations out here who say that they support victims of human trafficking, but you never really see like the actual real support? Like, you have organizations who may be out here saying, no, we support this cause, we support that cause, but you don't see where they're actually employing the victims. You don't see where they're providing actual shelter for the victims. It's kind of like it becomes a law enforcement thing, and law enforcement has to figure it out. So, do you have any better ideas or solutions on how we can better change that or make that better? Or, what are your thoughts of that? Because I know something me and you we talk about quite often. My thing is, don't get in this space and you don't have the authority to walk in the office of this space. This is not the space where you come in to go after people, because this is a principality. You're going after moral impurities. Human trafficking is a moral impurity. You dealing with a sexual sin that's bigger than you, and you come in this space, you ain't been through nothing in life. And then you want to try to help girls who've been through something in life. Right.
And then you want to try to educate them and then be an advocate for people that you ain't never been through nothing like this before. Now, I'm not saying that you can't operate and it won't work and that your advice is not important, but advice is like deliverance. Once you know it, you cannot unlearn it.
Right.
And if you're in this space and you know human trafficking is mainly happening to brown and black girls, and you get here with the intent, because everybody got good intentions until that money pot open, okay?
Right.
And it's time to get that money for
Right.
your organization to thrive. And then what you end up having is a bunch of people paying for salaries and then not developing God's people. Because the point of it is to get the girls to return the hearts of the children back to the father. It's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I don't understand, and you know, believing in God is all about believing in principles. I don't understand how the Father's voice got lost in this.
Mhm.
How did we manage to allow companies and corporations to come into an African American space and then disrupt principles that the NAACP stood on, that Martin Luther King stood on, that even Farrakhan stood on? They all had principles. They
Right.
all had laws and ideas that were not suggestive. See, these corporations and these companies, they are suggesting what to do. If
Right.
you ain't never been trafficked, then anything you say about it is just a guess. You don't know. So this is a money ticket. And then what you gonna do? Scramble to keep your people? You got to keep raising more money to pay people? You ain't putting no money in the community? Don't come to me talking about no makeup. Don't come to me talking to me about no socks and no drawers and no soaps and all this kind of stuff and what and no, because this is bigger than that. And you've seen it because you've seen it with me firsthand.
Mhm.
What these girls are needing, that these girls need accountability partners. And unless case management is serious, and the only way case management at this point can be serious is if these companies are hiring girls who've actually been trafficked before to actually come and work for them, so that the girls can have a voice. They can have somebody they can say, listen, this is what I'm struggling with. Because it's hard to talk to a young girl that's struggling with going back out to go be with her pimp because she's been making $1,000 a night, only for her to make $1,000 a month.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's gonna need a level of intelligence. She needs protection. She needs covering. She needs to understand why it's important for her to be a taxpaying citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Because her whole life's been a secret. If you've never been through that, how do you describe that experience to a trafficking victim?
You're right.
I can only feel about the money. You know I'm gonna tell it. I'm
Right.
gonna tell it.
So let me ask you this. So I know that you've done I know you've done some things with Crime Stoppers, and I know you've
Yes.
done some things with Precinct 1. So tell us some stuff that you worked on with some of the law enforcement agencies in the community to try to not only work with them on human trafficking, but to also build that partnership with them as well.
I want to definitely congratulate Crime Stoppers. Sydney is amazing. She is so amazing. I mean, she we talked, and I must have cried 1,000 tears with her wanting to develop more of a partnership and really wanting to understand the African American heritage in this space. I think that in this climate that we are in, with understanding race and cultural barriers in human trafficking, that is very, very important for all white people to want to know the history of trafficking and where it comes from, all the way back down into slavery, where Black women were not taught to protect their children because it wasn't lawful. What was lawful was for the master to go down there and have sex with your 9 and 10-year-old virgin child, and then him look at her and say, oh, you a good mammy, or you a good wench. Do you understand? And
Right.
then leave her, then go to the next one, and go to the next one, and go to the next one.
Right. Right.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
There's a cultural barrier there. There's some pain right there that shouldn't be dismissed. Anybody would be remiss if they didn't bring that up.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And so I think that moving forward from this pain, people have realized that I have a strategic blueprint that helps us to develop a culture for human trafficking for African American women to be in this space, and Black and white women, to be in this space and learn to grow together and acknowledge the pain. Because I think benign neglect is not just for governmental entities. Benign neglect is across the board. It's across all leadership boards and platforms. Because there's a leadership capacity that goes along with ignoring what happened to Black women. Right. There's no way you're going to tell me that it is okay to only protect white children. And that is the image and the message that you've been putting in everyone's head since the beginning of time. But then there's no commercial, no advertisement, no movie that says that it is your right as a mother to protect your Black child. The least you could do is allow me to sit at the table, the same table where you teach your constituents to protect your children so that I can protect mine too. And I'm not saying I need your table to protect my children. I'm just asking you to acknowledge the long history where we have been taught not to protect our children. We've been taught to cover up things. We've been taught to deal with things and put up with things that were not legal from the beginning. Right. And it's not okay. So even with, with Crime Stoppers, oh, they're just amazing. What I did was I was going there and it ain't stealing, okay? Because Sydney, she's amazing. I was going there and they had these little things. You remember I used to bring home all the time those fingerprint things for the kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I would go in there and take them all the time. And one day Sydney was like, "Oh, Nissi, just come on in and I will give them to you. You can have as many as you want." So literally, I was taking them. And in my human trafficking class, I would teach moms to go ahead and have your children fingerprinted early. I think that's something that's very important to me because you realize once you see the amount of children that come up missing, and then you start seeing what they're using to identify children after they've gone missing to see if the DNA matches. It's like if they would have had fingerprints, if we would have had this, ahead of time, then they would have already known, there would have been some things that we could have covered way beforehand versus just using teeth or using doctor records. We can use the doctor records and this will be an addition to, So that stuff has been amazing. With Precinct 1, Kathy Griffin, I think is a phenomenal. She has done an amazing work in this space way before I got here. She was the first African American woman to open up the door for women like me to walk in and continue the conversation of human trafficking. And Kathy will allow me to go to Precinct 1. And, if she couldn't make her class that day or if she was on vacation, she would allow me to go to Precinct 1 and talk to the young ladies and be a face and just really open that door, that door opportunity. Because the thing about it is, here it is where we're learning how to take pain and convert it into opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that takes time. Right. Because you gotta stop, we gotta stop teaching ourselves how to be volunteer victims. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the agitation of this. Everybody's becoming a volunteer victim. And it sucks so bad because they're not getting the right information, because we have people that have been putting their programs and their messages in place that never protected us to begin with. They never protected our identity. They never protected us socially. It never protected us, culturally. It doesn't speak to our culture. There's no way. If you're white, you can tell me that it's okay for me to live up to your standards of success. When I cannot live up to that. Right. I didn't grow up with that, Right. So that's just That's just a couple things. You know, I do a bunch of stuff just with them too. I think that's enough. But you know, that's just one of the two awesome agencies that have decided that you know what, we're not gonna have this not working together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or we're not gonna have Nissi out there by herself just doing it. She ain't gonna just be no long ranger. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna collaborate.
Right.
And that's the beauty of this. It's all about collaboration. It's not a Nissi does it all or Nissi does it by herself. This is team effort.
Right. So let me ask this question. So I'm gonna say this. You know, Houston is number 1 in the country per calls and per capita for sex trafficking. A lot of people in the city, when you tell them that, they don't believe it. But you know, it is what it is. It's because we have so many ports of entry. There's so many ways to get in and out of the city. We have the port of Houston. You have the border. The crisis is going on down there. So with that being said, who or how can we better involve the community or get them more engaged, like our faith leaders? Because, you know, I think about this. You know, I think of like areas like Bissonnette, where it's like the hotbed of the city. And it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, we have churches in those areas. So where are the faith leaders? You know, where are the council members who represent these districts? Where are they at? You know, if you know this stuff is happening, if you know this is a crime that's consistently happening, to the point where the mayor has an anti-trafficking task force and the police department has a human trafficking task force, along with all the constable services, then why are they not? There needs to be more community engagement with faith leaders, with civic organizations, with just, even in the private sector, with your NGOs. So what would you suggest would be some great ideas or some things or some solutions to how to better engage people, so not only people can be more aware, but people can take action? You know, you may not, like you said, people want to be anonymous, but if you rob, you know, Homeland Security has the best saying: if you see something, say something. You know, right. So people can just, if they see it and they say something about it, then you don't realize you just saved someone's life. So in what ways do you think that our community can do a lot better to try to make sure that we engage one another, so we can be educated on how to save other people's lives?
We have to unadopt the customary ideas that it's okay to hide abusers. We have been so accustomed to hiding abusers for years from in the household. If you were a domestic violence victim or a human trafficking victim or any victim of any type of sexual assault or rape or anything like that, it has been embedded in our minds to keep something a secret or to hide it. By the time you get to the church with your church leaders, who are sometimes perverted, I can't be public and not say that, because our church leaders are unfortunately trafficking girls, participating in social divisive elements that maintain the culture of rape victims and victims that have been passed around sexually. You know, there's nowhere you can go without saying that. A lot of these churches and affiliations are participants and are guilty. And not only are they guilty, when you are guilty, you're only going to do so much because you don't want your hand told.
Right.
You don't want nobody to see how much you've added to the problem instead of taking away from the problem. And by the time you've figured out how to perfect whatever your personal crime is, whatever your sexual deviation is, there's no room for improvement.
Right.
Because all the other girls, that it builds up revenge. It's like, now I want my revenge. Oh, you got to come into Jesus moment? Now I got revenge.
Right.
We've got to get better at the background check.
You're right.
And you know, we talked about that. All it takes is 7 years. 7 years. Not only that, we got to get better at these. It's not the investigations. The investigations are great. Once the perpetrator, especially if they are in the faith-based community, they've been found out, all of these parents get to the point to where your child has been through all this stuff, but then you don't want to send them through the court to have them testify against the person, who are you protecting? The victim or the child?
Right.
Because you're supposed to be the accountability partner. So when that child don't go testify and the court don't have no evidence, then you giving the person that's been trafficking or that's been sexually assaulting women or domestically violating women or because these are the beginning traits of it, you're giving them the opportunity to walk away free. And then that's what happens when these sex trafficking charges get played down, because the parents won't allow the children to go and testify. And nobody talks about that.
Right.
That's not talked about in the Black community. If your child is a victim of human trafficking, please allow them to go and testify. How many times, even in your career of law enforcement, have you seen where the parent chose not to allow the child to testify because they were afraid of what could happen to them later?
Right.
See, now,
right.
as a parent, you are participating in the part where the abuser said keep it a secret. See, now you're participating in keeping it a secret.
Right.
Instead of being an accountability partner to your child and saying, listen, I know this hurt. What he did to you hurt it, but I know this hurt.
Right.
Because what you're going to do is you are inadvertently teaching this child how to bond with their trauma. And when you're bonding with your trauma, you're bonding with your abuser.
You're right.
Who the hell is teaching that? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
This is why human trafficking, that class is important.
Right.
Having that knowledge is important. So it's really, Nick, to be honest with you, it's really hard to say how to get faith-based organizations involved without them making it just about protecting the children. Protect the children or protect the ministry.
Right.
Protect the children, protect the ministry. The children are the ministry. Taken advantage of. And it's
right.
This is ridiculous. Oh, our 30 minutes up already?
So, Nissi,
I'm too done.
Hold on, before you go, because, we can do this all day because this is a really big issue. And that's one reason why I needed Nick to do your interview, because I know you and I will go.
Yeah.
And we will follow this up. We're going to have our criminal justice committee chair, Bishop Dixon, join us, and we'll get Kathy Griffin, and we'll do a special edition around this issue. But we wanted to make sure we touched on it because, as you know, we pushed it back because we have to stay fluid. With all the things that have been occurring the past month, we had to push this episode back. So thank you for your grace in that regard and just working with us. One thing that I wanted to ask you before you go, really quick, how can people assist you directly? What do they need to do? Where do they contact you?
You guys, please call me on my hotline. It's 713-331-3112. That number works all day, every day. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Nissi Hamilton. Email me, NissiHamilton@asurvivors with an S, voiceofvictory.com. That's my email. If that's too hard for you to remember, just nissi.hamilton@yahoo.com. You can, do it from there as the ssi.hamilton@yahoo.com. You will get a response. We are building our team. The team is getting bigger. Right now, we are assisting people in Florida, assisting people in California and New York. The platform has gone bigger. I never, ever thought it would get this big. And I will be at a summit called what is the summit called? The National Center on Sexual Exploitation, Coalition to End Sexual Exploitation in Children. I'm going to send that out as a global summit, and it's going to be over 100 speakers over 10 days. And I will definitely be on that platform. It's over 10,000 people. And I'm very excited that I was chosen to speak to people and to talk to them about the African American experience in human trafficking 101, Black human trafficking. So,
Lisa, give me that
Black
number.
Lives Matter.
713
331
uh-huh
3112.
3112. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for this.
We just posted that number up there. So if people need to reach Nissi, or if you know of someone who needs assistance, you can reach out to her. That's the hotline. So thank you so much, Nissi, for joining us and for assisting us in this collaboration. Some of the people in the comments, I want to encourage you, Nissi, to go through the comments once you are off the set, so you can see some of the other organizations that are out there. Perhaps you can come speak with them, collaborate with them, and let us know how the NAACP Houston branch can assist in any facilitation of partnerships, because we would love to assist and just be an anchor in the community to help strengthen your work. All right.
Oh, you're amazing, Jules. You've been this way since day one. First of all, I'm gonna pay my dues to the NAACP so I can be a part of this movement. Okay, I'm tired of seeing Nick walking here with these shirts and stuff. I want my shirt.
Well, we thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sweetheart.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nick. That was terrific. That really was terrific to sit there with Nissi. Like I said, she brings so much. She brings so much information and experience, having lived that herself.
Right.
And so thank you for conducting that and organizing that for us.
For the peace.
All right. I know you got to run. You got another meeting to get to. So we'll see you later.
All right.
All right. Bye. Okay. So that was a lot. And we will be working with Nissi in our call to action. So that will roll out in July. So one thing about working in advocacy, it's just like playing spades. You know, you playing spades, you could throw out maybe your 3 of spades, your ace of hearts, but you don't show your whole hand. You don't show them that you about to cut and collect the whole thing, that you ready to run a Boston. You take your time, because when you do it, you want everybody to know that you did that. And so we're working on some things, and we just want to encourage you and letting you know that we are very aware of the things that are happening in our community. And a lot of things just are not for public consumption. Some things require you to sit back and do a lot of research, a lot of writing. That's advocacy. That's where a lot of that comes in, a lot of policy. Not everybody can be on camera all the time. Not everybody's going to make the press conference or all the task force around, but we each have a role. And I just want to encourage you all to know that your role is important. So whether you're a member of our branch, that's excellent. Or if you're just a member of the community, we all have a role in this fight for justice and equity. And the fight for justice and equity is not limited to our civil rights fights. This also includes human trafficking, domestic violence, okay? It is dealing with housing discrimination. So there are many things that we are focused on with the Houston branch NAACP, including housing, making sure that more and more people in our communities are able to become homeowners if they so choose. They should not be blocked by bad banking practices. Redlining should not exist in 2020, but we know that people have to be educated and given the right tools so that they can navigate that space. The same is true when it comes to human trafficking and domestic violence. So without further delay, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Purpose Carn, Ladera Carn. She's joining us today. How are you doing, Doc?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. So we're so happy to have you, and I want to thank Nissi again for connecting us. You're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, thanks to Nissi.
Yeah, you're stunning. I mean, your picture was beautiful, but you see people like you're really stunning. And I love the pump ladies up. Like, hey, we don't hear it enough. So
this natural.
Thank
so
you for
yeah,
joining us. You're welcome. So let's just jump right into it to talk about domestic violence. We know that with COVID-19 hitting us in March, I'm an educator. And so every semester I can identify students who I can tell like their whole attitude changes. They're not turning in work, and I can ask them, hey, what's going on? And it's a domestic situation. You can't really do that in the virtual world. I did tell the students, like in one of my online lectures, I said, hey, if you're dealing with domestic violence at home, just shoot me an email and talk about and say this question in your email. And it was concerning our textbook, but someone reading it would just think it was work. And that way I can assist you. But with us being in quarantine and likely about to go back into lockdown because these numbers are going up.
Oh, yes.
We see domestic violence on the rise. We had law enforcement on last month, and they last month, and they talked about it. So tell us what we can do in this time, especially right now, concerning domestic violence.
Is muted. Okay, first of all, I just want to say my name is Dr. Purpose, and I do work for Divine Destiny Ministry and Crisis Center. It's for women and children that have dealt with domestic violence. I am a domestic violence survivor of 20 years, educator, and also advocate. And right now with this COVID thing going on, I can tell you, I live close to Montgomery County, but I'm in Harris County. And since the COVID has been going on, actually the counts have been around just people that have been placed in prison, about 200 people. Some of them have been let go on bond. And with the COVID going on, it's just so much more domestic violence. Montgomery County percentage is like 30%. And I can just imagine, I'm not going through it now. I thank God for deliverance of domestic violence, but I can just imagine, because sometimes your workplace, your school, especially with the children, I felt like with myself, sometimes school was my safe haven. That's the place that when I went through, I also went through child abuse. So that was my place that I could, get to and, be around other people where I didn't have to deal with all of the abuse that was at home. But now with the COVID that's going on, yes, it is skyrocketing far as the percentages, far as I can give you a little examples of what's been going on. You may have a domestic violence situation. And first of all, a lot of people don't even know what the definition of domestic violence is. And abuse is just only power and control. It can be domestic violence is just something domestic, something abusive, domestic. It could be your seem like every time I hit my thing. It could be between a husband and a wife. It doesn't just have to be the husband. A lot of times we look at the husband as the abuser. Sometimes it could be the female, just as well. And with the COVID that's going on, you may have, I like to tell people literally about what types of domestic violence to kind of, keep your eye on. A lot of stuff we know is the physical, the verbal. You have people that's dealing with the financial, and based on the financial part now, you have a lot of people that's trying to keep people away from getting the medication or going to the doctor or doing anything to protect themselves, literally holding the finances so that they can't get, the correct needs that they are needing. And as we know, and it's so sad to say that us as African Americans seem like our rates are higher with the COVID right now. My husband has coronavirus as we speak now. We're claiming it that he is being healed. We're waiting on the test results, but being a minority, we're not getting the results just as quickly as somebody that may have the finances to get the results. And I'm claiming him as healed, but it's been over about 14 days and we should have gotten results, at this time. So, it's some things that people really need to look at when we're talking about this COVID, because we're having couples that are in unity, that's supposed to be in unity, but sitting in the same household, and they're quarantining. And what's going on is they're not used to that environment. You know what I'm saying? They're so used to, okay, my scapegoat may be my job, or my scapegoat may be my church or the community. Just a second. Hold on just a second.
I understand. Take your time.
This is my husband's computer. Okay, I tried to get him in here, but like I told y'all, he has the coronavirus, and we're trying to keep everything quarantined. So I'm actually on his laptop. But another thing we can also say, withholding the insurance card. A lot of people probably don't think about that would be something domestic violence, but a person that has so much control and so much power over your actions and what you can do, little minute things like that is something a domestic violence person, we deal with that thing personally, and the first thing most of all is trying to trust anybody, telling your information, being taught how to lie, how to keep secrets, how to cover up for your the person that's abusing you. And like I said, I don't want people to get it mistaken to just think it's a relationship between a husband and a wife. I felt like I even went through it with one of my siblings that passed away. It was so much volatile. And I believe in some of the things like Nissi was talking about. I have to protect my own heart, and having discernment, being around certain people, I can pick up certain vibes. Or it's just like how you saying about in school, I used to be a substitute teacher, and I can distinguish the children that was going through domestic violence because I used to work at CPS. And you just kind of like attract those same type of students or women. It seemed like I attract those type of women, even in the church house. And when God first told me to go with my ministry, a lot of us, you probably wouldn't even realize, are first ladies, ministers, and that should be the first place that we should be able to turn to is the church. And a lot of times the church does not have it set up where we're getting the assistance that we need. So domestic violence is real, and a lot of people takes it as a joke. I have a stepdaughter. My husband's daughter died at the age of 26 years old. So this thing to me is very personal. I live this thing, I thank God, like I said, from getting out of it, but it wasn't me that actually got out of it. I always say that God delivered me from the hands of the enemy. Sometimes the very person that you're thinking that is your friend is the one that's your enemy. So you just have to be careful and watch out who you're calling friends or who you're trying to get in relationships with. And when I'm saying relationships, I'm talking about that's even friends, relatives, just anybody. But majority of the time we're hearing it domestic violence in the household.
Okay. So with your ministry and the work that you do in the realm of domestic violence, for someone on the outside looking in, what are some key things that not only they should be looking for, should be spotting, but what are some key things that they should do once they spot it?
Well, it's kind of hard to, especially like with myself, when I was going through domestic violence, I had my perpetrator telling me, if you tell anybody, I'm kill you, kill your parents, you get all these different threats. And a lot of my abuse was mental abuse. There was a lot of physical, and how people was able to recognize. Sometimes I may go on with have glasses on, had to go to work. And, I was told, you know, take the glasses off, and I would make up a lie. I would make up an excuse. Oh, I ran into this, or I ran into that. The fact why I say that is because with domestic violence, the perpetrator has so much control, and you're really scared because a lot of people may see that person as timid and mild and, you know, meek, and realize, oh, that can't be that person doing domestic violence. It's not a specific look. You know, it's not about all races, even though we can say that domestic violence percentile is probably worse in the Black minority than probably the white minority. But I do know a lot of white people that also go through domestic violence. So one way to even try to talk to someone a lot of times is just to ask them, like, you know, pinpoint a little questions. A lot of times you'll see they stop doing a lot of things that they're used to doing, you know, coming into the community. You normally seeing them outspoken, things like that. They probably start getting to the point where they're trying to give you signs a lot of the times. I will say even, yes, withdrawing away from everybody, isolating themselves, not participating in a lot of events that you know that they normally would be participating in. A lot of times we're dealing with depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. People don't realize that. A lot of times when you see us, I still deal with it now. 20 years out, I still deal with those triggers. I still deal with those thoughts. I have issues with trusting people, even people that may come in my corner that I don't want them to know what's going on. So that's one of the main things you have to watch out for is the isolation of the person so that you can't relate and understand that they're going through domestic violence, because we're looking at it as I'm the victim. And that's what the perpetrator tried to tell you. They will constantly tell you, you're the reason why I did this. You're the reason why I hit you, or you're the reason why I said this and that. Mine was always I talked too much, you know, or I was too educated, or, you know, it was some crazy things, but I had never been in a violent relationship with a man. So it was totally different. And some of the things that he used to do was hit me in my head. And we would, you know, people would ask him, why do you hit her in her head? And he said, because when the police come, they cannot really identify as far as the physical, you know, my face and things like that. So normally I would have, you know, bumps in my heads. And like I said, I did have a lot of black eyes and things like that. And for some reason you want to protect them because you're thinking things are going to get better. You know, I can change this person, or this person is going to change. An abuser is always an abuser. Unless that person seek the right type of help and really want that deliverance from God, they will always be an abuser. You have to really change your thoughts and change the way you visualize and the things that you do, the patterns that you're used to doing. You have to break those cycles, because all it is a cycle. So you have to break those things, because just like Nissi was saying, these things are principalities. You know, these things are, you know, demonic. So, you know, that's why I'm a spokesman. I feel that I'm the voice for domestic violence. A lot of people that I know, I can tell you that they went through domestic violence, but they would never tell someone else that they endured domestic violence.
Right. Wow. I'm still stuck in he would hit you on the top. That's, I mean,
yes, like, right.
Intentional. That's so like just, yeah. I'm gonna hit you and ain't nobody gonna know. Yes, and I'm gonna tear your head up and really, and that's really messing with your head, literally, effectively.
Oh yeah.
My God.
Psychologically, that stuff put me, for years, I carried it for years. Molestation from the age of 1. I was abused by my mom all the way up. The mental abuse and the verbal abuse stayed until she passed away in 2007. So my mind still, even though I'm almost 50 years old, I'm still trying to reprogram myself, those thoughts. You know, a person can say certain things to me and I can hear my mom's voice, or I can hear my ex-husband's voice, you know. And so I try, like I said, to protect my heart, because I feel like nobody else is going to protect me. Nobody can protect me, because when I was going through this stuff, there was really nobody there to protect me. And you really don't want to get the laws involved, because you look at the financial, tearing up your family, you know, you look at all the other things, but you forget about the cycle, and you forget about what your children may be picking up on. You know, this is something that they may be enduring, and it's a selfish situation, I had to look at that and tell my children, you know what, I apologize that I had y'all in this environment, because all I was thinking about was myself, and not thinking that this was something that was going to mentally affect you just like traumatic stress disorder, you know. And so they still think about different things that their dad used to do to me. So it was really bad.
Wow. Let me ask this. Well, real quick, what can someone do if they recognize that a loved one or a friend or neighbor or someone associated with them is likely experiencing domestic violence? What are some steps that they can do to help?
First of all, we do an intake center right now with Divine Destiny. And so I listed as a D1, DV1, which is a case that is a serious case. Say, for instance, someone call or contact, and if I hear somebody screaming in the background, or somebody, you know, in the background, or they may not be talking directly to me, you know, they may be saying, hey, I want to order a pizza or whatever. You really have to listen and kind of see the signs. And so what a person can do is, first of all, call 911. Because you don't know how serious the situation is. You really have to use your expertise, you know, and your judgment on, is this a serious case, or is this something that a person can put a safety plan, and they can start writing down different things so that they can get a way of escape. God will make a way of escape. I promise you that part, he will make a way of escape.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Tony says, I'm gonna put Tony's comment up here because he's absolutely right. That is deep. Taking the abuse can actually be selfish, and I've never heard it described like that. And so, thank you for that transparency and that willingness to be honest in that regard. How you recognize that not only for yourself but for your children.
Yes. Yes.
So here's a question: you're a survivor. Do you find, or do you know of perpetrators who have rebuilt them, who have been rebuilt, who have, I guess, been redeemed and now work in this space to help survivors survive and identify and just do the work?
You know what? Really, I don't know. The thing with my ex-husband, it's so hard when we say, you know, to forgive something that somebody did to you. And my first thing was, I had to learn how to forgive him. I mean, seriously, forgive him while I can still communicate with him. We still have children together. He was literally at one time born again, and I'm a prophetess. I was able to see some of the domestic violence that he was doing to the wife that he's with right now. God told me to call her. And at the time that I called her, she was telling me that she was on her way to the hospital because my ex-husband had just beat her up. And so with that being said, that we thought he had changed. He came to the church and he cried out. He apologized to me in front of my whole congregation, my husband now, my children. And years later, you know, if you're not fully delivered, that's what I always try to tell people. When you're not fully delivered, you can return back to what you came from. You know, if you don't change that mindset, those old, you know, actions that you've done in previously, those things that you want that control, you want to get back that control. You know how us Black women are. We are mouthy, you know, we will speak up for ourselves, or we will talk some junk. And a lot of men don't like that about us. But that's a way, majority of us, that's a way that we're saying, look, we have a voice. Everybody is talking about Black Lives Matter. You know, I'm an author. I'm on a tour now. We're saying Black authors matter. But then I sit and say, us survivors, I matter. I matter. Domestic violence survivors, domestic violence abusers, we all matter. The whole thing is to come together as a unity and realize this is something that is demonic. And we need to put a stop, and we need to start addressing these issues. And somebody has to be the voice, because there's so many people getting killed or living in this environment right now that you don't even know about.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, when we thought we were going to do this episode, we had intended on doing this episode a few weeks ago. We posted a video that illustrated verbal abuse between parents and how children hear it and they have to deal with it. So if you all are watching, you can look at that on our Instagram page, and you have to dig through on our Facebook just because of the way Facebook does. But many people don't always look at the verbal as domestic violence. They don't see that. Most people, you hear domestic violence, they think somebody is physically abusing, whether sexually or physically with their hands, punching or beating someone else. What are some other forms of domestic violence?
You can go through spiritual domestic violence. Spiritual is a form of domestic violence. Like I talked about, the financial is emotional, the physical, this financial, I think I just mentioned that, mental, and especially, like I said, verbal. The thing about domestic violence is it's increasing. You know, we started off with probably like 5 abuse patterns, and now it's starting to increase because, like I said, it's all about power and control. And I hate to say this, but I even look at the president as, you know, that role that he carries, that's power and control. You have the power to make all of the decisions, you know, that we may not agree with, but having all of that power and control, you know, is not always a good thing, because you can't abuse your power. So yes, verbal abuse. One thing that I have to say that my parents went through a lot of the verbal abuse, and me as a young child, I would hear it. And then when I did get into the marriage that I'm in currently, almost 14 years of my husband may say that, you know, you're verbally abusive. I don't curse, but I can say certain words.
You can cut with your words.
Yeah, I can cut you with my words because I feel like words hurt more than the physical pain. That's what you remember. And I remember the things that my mom used to say to my dad, and I can say it just like she said it, and she's no longer here. So yes, that verbal abuse is so, you know, just specific words. And I didn't realize that us as Black women, we can get in relationships and men can call us MFs and BITCHs and things like that. And I didn't understand that that's a form of abuse as well, you know, calling people out of their names. And so I started realizing that, you know what, you have to teach people how to treat you. You know, you have to make people be accountable for their actions towards you. If I feel like somebody is threatening me or I don't feel comfortable around this person, I have a reason to feel that way. And you have to respect my space or my privacy or how I feel. Because majority of the time, I can pick up on people that have the tendency to grow up or become domestic violence, you know, abusers.
Yeah. I'm with you. What you have to teach people, because I don't let people be passive aggressive with me. I'm like, look, that don't work with me. Stop that.
Exactly.
Here's a statement, and I'm glad he said this because I wanted to ask this too. Spiritual domestic violence. Can you please elaborate on that? And thank you, Mr. Coles. Thank you for that question. Could you elaborate on spiritual domestic violence?
A lot of times, and that's why the Bible talks about, you know, how can 2 walk together unless they be in agreement? That's literally saying that here I am, I'm a Christian, and then I'm dealing with someone of a different religion than I am. And that person may, you know, when you talk to me, I'm always going to talk about ministry. That's why I don't work good in the corporate environment, because I'm always talking, you know, as a Christian would talk. And sometimes you can be in a relationship where that person just saying, oh, you know, I don't want to hear nothing about that Bible thing, or you and your religion, or you and your God, and all that stuff is not true. But what gets me is, you may not believe in my God, but when you're in trouble, it seems like you can call on my God to help you or ask for a request over the Facebook, as in, you know what, my family member is going through something. Can somebody pray? So obviously you believing in something, but spiritual abuse, like I said, can be where a person is stopping you from attending church. You know, a lot of times I had to realize this, and I want people to understand this when I say that, not to take it as offensive, but I made my ex-husband my God. That's what God kept telling me. You have made him your God. And what I mean by that is everything that if it didn't work out the way I thought, because I prayed for God to heal this marriage. And if it didn't work out, I was like, okay, I'm not going to church no more, God, because you ain't real. You're not doing nothing. But God wanted to fix it the way he wanted to fix it. And God, like I said, sometimes God would have to deliver you from your enemies because he know what can happen. I thank God that he saved me because this is my ministry. So I had to go through domestic violence in order to get in the position that I am in now.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Real quick, I know we're coming into our closing with you.
Aww.
We're going to have to do this again
Yes.
to really talk about it. And I want to get attorney Carvana Cloud on because I know she does a lot of work in this area. I just think the timing was too short when I reached out to her.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to have you back and expand this conversation around domestic violence. If someone is experiencing domestic violence today and they come across this video or what have you, this broadcast, how can they get assistance from you or your ministry or whomever? How could they reach out?
Okay, first of all, like I said, if the situation is a very serious situation, first of all, call 911. If you feel that you're in a domestic violence situation, we have a national domestic violence hotline. The number is 1-800-799-7233. And Divine Destiny, our number is the intake center. If you need to talk to someone that you may think that you're in domestic violence situation, to help you get out of that situation, my number where I can be reached is 832-698-9262, or you can reach me on Facebook at Divine Destiny Ministry and Crisis Center, or Dr. Ladera Carn, or Dr. Purpose Carn.
Okay. And I just posted at 832-698-9262 if someone needs that. Before I let you go, I want to talk about a domestic violence situation that happened in the Houston area that made the news a couple of weeks ago. We had a Houston Fire Department, I think lieutenant or captain, and he killed his girlfriend and left a young child. It happened in Brazoria County, but he was Houston Fire Department. And a lot of times people are in a position of power.
Right. Exactly.
When they're in a position of power, say they pay your cell phone bill. So,
right.
You know, what other ways can people reach out besides liking something on Facebook, sending a message? Well, I say besides sending a message on Facebook or Instagram or calling a number. If there's another way, I don't know.
Well, like I said, the domestic violence hotline, and then when you're talking about with children involved, you're also talking about CPS. And with CPS, you know, you can be anonymous. All the phone calls, even calling me, you can be anonymous, that I can get you a shelter or a place that you can find safety. I also have a book that is out now on Amazon, and it's called "You Told My Mom You Would Never Hit Me Again." And that book has a safety plans. It teaches you about post-traumatic stress disorder. It teaches you about the percentages. What is domestic violence? It has a lot of wealth of information for somebody that is going through domestic violence. Even if someone, like you asked me before, if you see the signs that someone is going through domestic violence, it even talks about how to help them or how to have that conversation with them on how to get out of domestic violence.
Okay. And then I just posted the national hotline. There we go. 1-800-799-7233. Thank you so much. Could you give us your social media platforms again?
Yes. I can be reached at my IG is Dr._Purpose, PURPOSED. My Facebook is Ladera Ladera, Carn, Carn, or Dr. Purposed Carn on Facebook.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carn.
Thank you for having
It has
me.
been a pleasure to sit here and hear your testimony and hear you
Yes.
discuss the work you're doing. I want to make sure I have the right organization. It was Divine Destiny.
Destiny. Yes, Divine Destiny Ministry.
And you all have a Facebook page, and I believe Miss Tatum has posted it here in the comments. So
I'm pretty sure she have.
if anyone would like to contribute to the work that they're doing in that ministry, whether it be through volunteerism or a monetary donation, I'm sure that they will be happy to receive it.
Yes.
Tony says, is there a number that they can text? Is that 832 number they can text?
Yes, they can text that. That is my, I will literally answer that phone. That's my hotline number that people can reach out and talk to me. And like I said, especially during this COVID time, this coronavirus stuff, please reach out to us, because like I said, you never know, that last hit could be your last breath. Make sure that if you notice something or someone is going through domestic violence, or you may have an or a feeling that somebody's going through domestic violence, don't be afraid. You can be anonymous. Call those numbers and get in contact with one of us so that we can reach out and extend our help to them.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for everything that you're doing. I pray that God continues to bless your ministry, you and Nissi's ministries. Around the work that you're doing for individuals who may be involved in human trafficking and domestic violence. And interestingly enough, a lot of people don't recognize this, but the two often overlap.
And we work, Nissi is my president on Divine Destiny. So so it's amazing how God, and that's how literally I looked at it. Sex trafficking and domestic violence, they do go hand in hand in some ways.
Yeah. Well, I thank you again for the work that you're doing. And if the Houston branch NAACP can assist in any way, you know how to reach me. And if I'm not the person, I will share it with my fellow committee members and our executive team so that we can assist however we can. And
thank you so much.
Thank you. You have been a real delight to have on the show today.
Thank you. And don't forget about me. I'll come back anytime you need me.
I won't.
You have a blessed day.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lot. We learned a lot today. We're getting ready to bring Porschia back in, and we're going to close out the show. Porschia, you ready? If you weren't, I got you. So what did you think of the show today?
That was a powerful conversation. Like, I'm happy that we were able to hear from both of them and hear their perspectives. And also, like, thank you for all the individuals, Kathy and everyone else who shared the resources in the comments. So that even if you don't, want to reach out to anybody directly or reach out to, the individuals that were on the show today, like, at least they offer those resources to our listeners and to our viewers. So just thank them for coming and sharing their stories, because we need to hear stuff like that, and the story and overcoming as well. We have to be able to see that and hear those narratives. So
exactly. Wow, that's all I can say. I know we have a few more announcements. I did want to announce that Mayor Turner has released a list of 45 members for a joint task force of community members. I've kind of perused it a little bit. I was shocked at some of the names that were left off. Excited about some that were included. And so what I guess we encourage the community to do is, if you recognize some of those names, you hold them accountable. You let them know what your concerns are, because basically they're the community voice at this point for that particular task force. Again, it's a list of 45 people. I'm really excited to see several of the people who are on there. Some of them I'd never heard of. Some of those spaces, we would love to have seen some more activists included. I think it's important to include all areas of the community. But at the end of the day, it's the mayor's choice to decide. That's not our place. But what we can do is we can, as individuals, we can reach out to the people on that task force and have those meaningful
dialogues and conversations.
Yeah, and offer solutions and ideas and not become aggravated, especially in this work that we all are doing. Don't become, I keep thinking about Angela Davis, don't become frustrated. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just do the work. And so do the work. That's what we have to do, because we all have a lane and we all trying to go to the same place. And that is to be fully liberated and to have equity and justice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we talked about this, but early voting starts tomorrow. I misquoted, not tomorrow, but next week. I misquoted earlier and said it started on Tuesday, but it starts on Monday. So Monday morning, the 29th, you'll be able to
vote early.
Monday on the 29th, you'll be able to go vote. So I encourage you all to go as early as possible. Don't wait until July 14th to go vote. We have basically like a week to get in there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We are in Harris County, wonderful Harris County, where we can vote your way. You can go anywhere there's a polling location for you to vote. We encourage you, of course, to wear your mask. That's, been mandated again. Wear your mask. Make sure you take hand sanitizer when you go in. You got to sign your name. Next you got to sign your signature. So make sure that you take your own hand wipes. Make sure you take your own pen take your own pen in there, because we don't know what the volunteers are going to have available. There's some minimum CDC standards that they have to adhere to, but we know how things are going. We saw the lines yesterday in Kentucky. We saw, we heard some of the shenanigans that was going on in New York. So we want to make sure that we're able to vote. This is not our primary election, but it's setting some of the ballot. It's setting the ballot for the November election. So it's just as important, just as pivotal, in us, making our voices heard to get the people on the ballot that we want to see on the ballot come November.
Yeah. So this is our primary runoff election. All right. And speaking of voting, we have volunteer deputy registrar training. Yes. What are the dates?
And there's several. I put the link in the comments. So it's going to be a little bit further up. I posted it when Nicholas was talking to Nissi. So it's a little further up in the comments, but there's several Zoom trainings that are coming up. When I looked at the list, I went in there. It's so many. So if you want to be a volunteer voter deputy registrar, please sign up. Literally, the training in person takes 30 to 45 minutes. So I know they're probably going to be able to get through it even faster online or about that same amount of time. So it won't be a huge headache for you to go through it. So just go ahead and there, she got my picture up there. Go ahead and sign up for that at that link.
But we're encouraging people to do Tuesday or Thursday at 6.
Yes, because we'll be partnering with the Houston Area Urban League. So yes, we would love for you guys to show up in those trainings. I'm pretty sure I don't want to take up a spot, but I probably will pop in and register just so I can, be there and see all the people's faces that'll be there during those trainings. So yeah, absolutely.
So we want to encourage you to go to the website right there, hctax.net/voter/deputy, and get an RSVP for Tuesday, June 30th at 6 p.m. or Thursday, July 2nd at 6 p.m. Because we are partnering with the Houston Area Urban League. Shout out to Ray Shackelford, president of the Young Professionals, the National Young Professionals for the Urban League. Thank you, Ray, for collaborating with our Community Coordinations Committee in facilitating this dual VDR training partnership here in Harris County. So we want to see as many people as we can become VDRs, because we're going to be doing numerous voter registration activities now through October. So we need more volunteers. Absolutely. Portia, I see you were holding your hand up. You wanted to say something.
Yes. So anybody that needs to still request a mail-in ballot. So we know that the COVID testing, we've increased COVID cases here in Houston. There's more people getting tested. So if you are getting tested for COVID right now and you are positive, or you have someone in your family and they still want to vote, for that July election, we don't want you to go to the polls we don't want you to risk anybody else's health going to the polls to vote. You can request a mail-in ballot. And if you are sick, you can get that mail-in ballot. If you're gonna be unable to go vote in person, or you feel you'll be unable to go vote in person on July 14th, or during that early voting period. So you have to request your mail-in ballot by July 2nd. And you can go to harrisvotes.com to request that. They will send it to you. You can fill it out, and then you do have to pay postage to send it back in. So keep that in mind. You will need a stamp when you send that back in. But you can request it. You just have to request it by July 2nd so they can get it to you, so that you can turn it in before 5 p.m. on July 14th. So I encourage you, if you need it, don't risk anybody else's health to go out and vote. But there is another option, and that is a mail-in ballot, absentee ballot, if you're going to be unable to make it, and if you are sick, that classifies as a disability right now.
Yeah. And also, if you're going to be out of town, I know some people are quarantining now so that they can travel, because you do need 14 days of quarantine before you travel to a lot of states. So some people will not be in town on election day. If that's you too can apply for a mail-in ballot by next Thursday. Right?
Next Thursday, yes.
It has to be
July 2nd. You said what?
It needs to be received by.
It needs to be received. The request, so the request needs to be made by July 2nd, and then they need to receive your mail-in ballot no later. It has to be postmarked no later than 7 p.m. on election day. So it needs to be in the mail no later than July 14th at 7 p.m. postmarked. So I would encourage you to, if you go ahead and request it now, you'll have it well in advance.
Send it in.
Complete it immediately and send it in. Exactly. Right. So, but just want to stress that
that request must be received by July 2nd.
July 2nd.
Right. Not postmarked or any of that.
Not postmarked. Just received. The request needs to be made so they have time to get it to you, so that you can turn it in or mail it back in before July 14th.
Perfect. Well, Porschia, I think that concludes our show for today. We will be back next Wednesday. Will we be back next Wednesday?
Isn't next Wednesday a special day?
We'll be back. Don't worry about it. We'll be back. We'll be back next Wednesday, and we have some special editions that we need to get produced. So we'll be talking to our production team to organize several more special editions around domestic violence, sex trafficking. What was last? Oh, we have to do one about the arts. Houston.
We have to do one about the arts, absolutely. And we're on the cusp of here in Texas, school going back in session. So we're going to make sure we tackle education.
Yes.
And try to get as much information as we can to share with our community. So let you guys know what you can be facing and what some of the arguments are, in opposition of even for or against starting back school in August.
As well as what's happening with HISD. So it's a lot going on. We're still working, the two of us. Yes. Our production team, most of them work full time too. So that's why we only do this show once a week.
Yes.
And we try to bring you all that we can in these 90 minutes. We encourage you to share. You can share it after the show is over. You can share it from our YouTube page or here on Facebook. So if someone says, I don't do social media, I don't have Facebook, direct them to YouTube, because that's also a site. Go ahead, Porschia.
And there's one more thing you mentioned, HISD. So HISD has a mental health hotline for students and parents. And I think it's actually open to the public. I don't think they're limiting you to have to be in HISD. But if you're going through anything, you're having some struggles or going through some issues right now, they have a hotline. We did post it on our branch website or our branch Facebook page a couple of weeks ago. But we can probably repost it for you so that you can have it. So just in case you need some help, you need somebody to talk to, They did set up a mental health and wellness hotline for you. That's free of charge. So we want to make sure, we want to highlight that HISD is doing and recognize some of the good stuff that they're doing in the community. So
yeah, just
wanted to put that out there before.
And you can find that on our Instagram, our Facebook, and our Twitter pages, Houston NAACP. Lastly,
we got the Twitter going now.
Oh yeah, the Twitter's been going. Lastly, I almost forgot, and I think I just forgot what it was, but I had something important to say, but I don't remember what it was. Happened.
We'll post it later if we remember.
We'll post it later. Just make sure that you do vote. Don't forget, early voting does start Monday. If you need us for anything, you know how to reach us. And if not, we will see you next Wednesday right back here for CommuniTEA. Thank you so much.
Have a good week, guys.